Stream. Mike the Intern and Jay Stevens. Watching documentaries so you don't have to. 104.7 The Cave.
104.7 The Cave, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens, Dark Side of the Stream, episode 267. This week was Jay's pick, The Age of Disclosure, which unfortunately for you, you will have to pay for.
You'll have to rent it.
We kind of got around that because Jay luckily did an interview with the producer, and when you do those, they send you an email with all the information, and then typically if there's a project like a movie or a stand-up show or a album, they'll send you a link to like
you can
preview it secretly, so you have reference to talk to the interview and stuff.
Yeah.
And so luckily for us,
we didn't have to pay for it.
Well,
and we legally streamed it.
It got close though because I logged in.
Mike screwed us.
I didn't know this was going to happen, but I logged in and started watching it. I got halfway through, and I went down to tell him. I said, "Hey, we can both watch it, but we only have 3 views left." He's like, "Oh, that's cool, no problem." And he's watching it too. And I was like, "I'm gonna go to lunch and finish it and I come back."
And then what
I came back, the browser had quit, and I had to refresh it. And I ran down there. I was like, "There's only 1 view left, man."
Oh, we scrambled.
So luckily, we were able.
The government's trying to not let us watch it.
Or get their money. Either way,
First of all, let's say it was. It's the biggest selling documentary ever on Amazon. That's pretty huge, dude. It's pretty huge.
Well, I mean, in relative terms, most of the time documentaries aren't. I'm curious to see what those numbers really are.
This is what they're pitching as. This guy, the director producer guy, went around and interviewed 34 government officials about what they know about secret UFO programs, what they've seen.
And a lot of it kind of leaned into Elizondo and his experience in the whole thing. Yep. Which, if you've been following any of this for the last several years, there are a lot of people that believe him and what he's saying. And then there are other people that feel like he's a plant and it's disinformation.
And then you hear what those people say, and then you go, okay, that's good. Then you go, well, wait a minute. That sounds crazy, too. So it's like, who's who, man?
But I think the point of it is that the producers and director did a really good job of getting everyone in the same place and letting it all be there to be presented in a way that, because you hear, for a while there was like the Tic Tac, situation, and then those pilots and their involvement, and then a couple years later it was Grush and him coming out and saying like, this whole system is messed up, and these is things I've seen, and these are people I've interviewed. And so I honestly, watching it, I think, because you and I were really
we're deep in it. We know a lot of this story.
But then we kind of got burned out on it because it's just like waiting for Christmas, and then Christmas just never comes, and eventually you're just like, finally,
you need a little something.
You're like, there's just so much of it.
Thankfully,
some
our
of
state
it
representative here, Burleson, he's in charge of that.
He's one of the dudes like Luna and the dude from Kentucky.
And he told our boss here off the record, kind of off the record, he said, the stuff that I've seen behind closed doors is pretty mind-blowing. That's what he told Brian. Yeah,
they all say that. But until you show me what you're talking about, it's all big nothing.
We're at this point, we need to see
you can hear that. That's what I'm point I'm making. You and I are kind of at that point. It's like, cool.
And we're on board. We're both on board.
Because 2 years ago, we're like, dude,
it's happening. It's happening.
You remember what they said?
Yeah.
And then now you're like,
and just last week, Trump was like, release. Yeah, I'm going to tell them, release all the files. Cool.
Let's see it. Let's see all the files.
I know. That's the problem. We need more, right?
Yeah.
We've heard all these stories, but if you haven't heard these stories, watch it.
Yeah, and we'll get into it next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.
Dark Side of the Stream, Mike the Intern and Jay Stevens. Watching documentaries so you don't have to. 104.7 The Cave.
Jay Stevens, Mike the Intern, back in the studio. It's Dark Side of the Stream, episode 267. This week was a JPIC, Age of Disclosure on Amazon, which you do have to purchase. I'm sure it'll be free.
It gets
eventually.
cheaper and cheaper. It's going to be free soon.
Yeah, Jay in the break made a good point that if you haven't been really, you're not a nerd like we are, and this has already piqued your interest,
if you're like, what are these guys talking about? UFOs? Come on, that's not real. Watch the documentary.
It definitely does a really good job of compiling everything in one place. I think it leans sometimes, it kind of leans to prove their argument more than anything else.
But the good thing about it is it's not talking to some dude in a forest in the middle of nowhere. It's not some crackpot who was smoking meth. It's government, top government officials talking about what they know, what they've seen, and they've heard about.
The thing that you, again, and I want to come across as burnt out on it because obviously I am, because it's like, yeah, you say that, but I want to see it. In the case of this documentary and these witnesses, all these guys are highly decorated military pilots that if you know anyone that served, more specifically anyone that's flown, their like mantra is
elite.
Observe and report. Observe and report.
And these guys have gone on sworn testimony of what they've chased inside.
Literally doing what they have been trained to do.
You can't call them crazy.
And so it doesn't really jive with the story we've been told, and then what these guys are saying too.
These guys have chased them, that's why.
And tracked them and all that stuff. I told you my buddy Charlie, who flies for the Navy, right? He for years I've been on him about it, and he's always said, he's got thousands of flight hours everywhere, all over the world, in different planes and jets and all kinds of stuff. He's like, I've never seen anything. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not there. And he also said, pilots, man, sometimes they're a little off kilter.
Well, it also seemed like
one pilot, okay. 2 pilot,
right? But you get all these pilots and captains,
maybe, but 30 over the course of decades.
Yeah, and government officials.
Different governments, different
Secretary
presidents.
Of State for Bush, like all these guys came on record saying, yes, there's stuff there, and there's
the other thing too, though, about Charlie is one day he texted me and he's like, I finally saw one. I finally saw it. Remember that? I showed you that picture.
Yeah, I do remember this now. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And he took a photo from the cockpit with a cell phone, and Jay's like, whoa. And we're like, and I kind of was like, it kind of looks like a weather balloon, And I was like, I don't think it looks like those orbs. And then within like 6 hours, it was that report that it was a rogue weather balloon that someone forgot to report that almost hit an actual passenger flight. But he saw it before because they were in the area. But yeah, so he still.
And some people say, well, it's probably our technology. No, because this is 20 years ago, and it defies what we know of physics. What they're saying.
The big thing is that while it's a lot of hearsay and you're just going off of testimony without evidence. When we come back, we'll talk about a recent study that was done in reference to this that does show a lot of evidence, which I think is very interesting in this regard of our age of disclosure on 104.7 The Cave.
Dark side of the stream, Mike the Intern and Jay Stevens, watching documentaries so you don't have to. 104.7 The Cave.
Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream episode 267, The Age of Disclosure on Amazon. We discussed a little bit about some of the evidence, and again, it's not true evidence in the sense that we're getting to see photos.
There's some video, there's photos, there's
the Tic Tac video,
tracking.
There's the tracking of our defense stuff, but that's really as far as it goes. And then obviously them going underwater, coming underwater.
Now they say they have 12 crashed UFOs that they have stashed away.
The story you hear that there's at least 2 that are so big that they're immovable and they're buried somewhere.
South Korea. Yeah.
One is and then again, the 4chan's guy, that whole deal a couple years ago. Remember I showed you that whole thing, and he was like a death. They're pretty sure they figured out who it could have been, in regards to someone that worked in the program that died within a few months of that posting. I wish I would have brought his name,
And
but they
there's-
did a really good job. The 4chan witness that came out a couple years ago, which again, it's 4chan and take it as a grain of salt, but what his story was really leaning into the submersive theory, that there in fact is a giant submersive thing in the ocean near the Bermuda
A lot of stuff
Triangle.
like that. Yep.
That they're all these probes that are actually made on Earth, and they're made on that thing. But again,
Never
like
know.
I'm saying, this all hearsay. There's no
Yeah.
evidence of any of that.
And
they're great stories, but they're not. But what there is evidence of recently that came out was a scientist that looked back and said, you know what? We've been taking star charts since way before we had things in space, satellites, Sputnik, us going to the moon, any of that stuff, any of it. And we have actual evidence of star charts every day, multiple times a day, multiple times a night. And so through the use of AI, which made this, because there's millions and millions of these images, went through and pulled out anomalies. And come to find out, pre-Sputnik, pre-anything that we started shooting up into the sky, there are things up in those star charts that move.
Right.
That are here 1 second and here this second and then gone, or vice versa. So that leads you to believe that, as far as I'm concerned, that is true evidence.
Right. And also, it's not like this is some new thing all of a sudden. I mean, UFOs have been in cave drawings, Egyptian drawings, and they talk about UFO sighting in the Bible. Like, it's not like just all of a sudden, hey, there's UFOs. You know, this is like through history. There's been sightings, being like stories of this. So it's not. Everybody's not making it up,
but
I think. You know what I'm saying?
That's not. Well, I know that we're all. It's like we're all crazy, really.
Yeah.
But like I said, with that science that she did, that's real science,
Well,
and that in itself says. I mean, while they can't tell you what those objects are, there was enough for it to say there are things in the sky that are
look
moving.
how big the universe is. I mean, there's no way that we're the only.
No, of course not.
No, that's why.
Last thing before we go to break, what do you think? You still think that Atlas 3 is a comet? You heard the recent hubbub about that going to Jupiter and all that stuff?
It's doing some weird stuff, right?
They're still watching it. Well, the crazy thing is that they shut the feed down for 72 hours when it's as close that we could observe it. They shut it down.
Yeah,
NASA didn't
which
have
is weird.
Which is like, why would you shut it down?
NASA does a lot of weird
for us
things.
to not see it for
They do
3
some weird
days.
stuff, yeah.
Number two, them following it and all that stuff has been classified by the CIA.
I mean,
okay, well, if it's a comet, then, that's cool. I
There's
agree.
a Harvard scientist that says that he thinks that it's
but now they're
not
saying it's basically in 20 days or
moving like it's not supposed to be moving.
It's going to be parked outside of Jupiter, and they're saying that it's just going to be sitting there. So the theory is that it's not here because if it was going to destroy us, it would have already destroyed us. It could destroy us already. It's like, what is it going to do? If it wanted to invade us, we'd already be
Maybe
invaded.
it's looking for the right people to pick.
Maybe it just wants to broadcast.
Dude, let's go.
So ET man, if you're watching, let us know.
Yeah, we got a direct communication line.
We're tired, man. We just want to know. Like, well, come on.
They probably need a good '80s rock band too. I can sing for them.
I'm not gonna say it because
you already know. We'll be right back. 104.7 The Cave. I'm not gonna let you say this. Go to commercial.
Dark side of the stream, Mike the Intern and Jay Stevens, watching documentaries so you don't have to. 104.7 The Cave.
Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio one more time. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 267. This week, Age of Disclosure. It was Jay's pick. I would give it a solid 4, if not 4.5. The only reason I want to give it a perfect is because, again, we knew pretty much everything.
But like I said, if you are thinking, what is Mike and Jay talking about this morning? UFOs, UAPs of the government,
inform yourself.
If you don't know any of this or you think we're talking crazy talk, watch the documentary because literally high-ranking government officials, and like you said, guys with more clout than any of us.
Again,
these guys are saying what they've seen. They've got video footage. They've got tracking device footage of these things that move like nothing should be moving. You know?
So
I'll go same thing. 4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want it.
What's next week's pick?
So we're gonna go back to real movies, and since you're such a super fan of him, it's actually a two-prong. Since you're such a super fan of this guy, and it's something that you and I have threatened to do for a long, long time.
We've threatened to do a lot. Beat up Tyler?
No, is if they ever fire us or make us mad, you and I are going to go into business and be trash guys.
We're making a trash company.
We're going to move back to Hawaii.
Rock and roll trash company.
Jay and Mike's trash.
We're
Rock
buy
and roll trash.
A trash can.
And we're just going to go set up in the Big Island.
Do that in the morning and then go to the beach.
We're going to go out there and we're going to surf all day.
Dude.
So since he's a huge Charlie Sheen fan and this is a dream of ours, one thing together, it's a movie. It's a buddy film called Men at Work. And
a brothers film.
Yeah.
There's brothers.
Two brothers, Emilio and Charlie.
Yep.
So we're going to watch that together.
Right.
Next week, Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.